welcome to today's show. This is the Virtuous Woman Show, and thank you so much for tuning in. I am your host, Sheila Juma, and as always, I'd like to invite you to grab your neighbor, grab your friend, grab your sister, and have them watch this show with you. It's going to be a very interesting and insightful show, and you want to stay tuned for this one. You don't want to miss it. We will be talking about first-time mothers. We have mothers who are young mothers, first-time mothers, and we're going to talk about the challenges that they face. What kind of things that do they need to do as a first-time mom? How do you even deal with a first-time mom anxiety? And so we have a guest on set with us today who is a first-time mom. She has a beautiful young boy, and she'll be telling us her story, and we'll be discussing this topic with her. Her name is June Ndungu. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Sheila.
We're so glad to have you.
I'm happy to be here.
So I would like you to look at that camera and tell us who you are, what you do.
Wow, thank you. My name is June Ndungu, as Sheila has introduced me. I am a born-again Christian. I'm a wife and a mother to one handsome boy. I'm also an accountant professionally and an entrepreneur on the side. Basically, that's who I am.
Wonderful. A woman of many trades. Yes. Accounting, entrepreneurship, a mother, a wife. Your plate must be full.
It is.
It is.
I thank God.
I know. I'm grateful to have you here today.
Thank
so we're
you.
talking about first-time moms, and you're a first-time mom yourself.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I'm sure. I know your son, and he's very handsome, as you have said. But I want to know your story first. How was your upbringing like?
I grew up in a normal family setup, a father, a mother, and siblings. Yeah, and I grew up normally just like a normal African child. Went to school, went to high school, went to campus, and after that got a job. And I grew up having a very good relationship with my parents, I'd say. Not to say that I was a perfect child. At some point, of course, we had some issues with my parents, not big issues, but just normal wrangles between children and parents. But all in all, I'd say I grew up very well in a very stable environment, and I thank God for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Who are you closer to, your mom or your dad?
As a child, my dad, but when now I'm a mother and I'm a wife, my mom.
Let me jump straight into the topic and ask you something very small. Do you think that the way you mother your son now, you are getting some, not necessarily tips, but you're borrowing some things that you saw your mother do growing up now to mothering your son? I
think so, because I think your upbringing really has a lot of impact on who you become generally in life. And being a mom, I'm able to see what my mom was doing and understand why she was doing certain things. Like, I love cooking for my family, so I can't even wait for my son to start feeding so that I can just cook everything that I can for him. So that is maybe one thing, because my mom really used to cook for us breakfast. I looked forward to Saturdays when she was around and she could cook for us. So I'd say I'm borrowing some few tips here and there from her. And even I still call her and ask her, Mom, what should I do here? My son is doing this. What is happening? Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
How old is your son?
My son is turning 6 months in like 3 weeks, so he's 5 currently.
He's almost eating.
He's almost eating.
Almost starting to eat. All the best with this phase. Did you ever dream about being a mother?
I did. I did. I was the kind of person who would play with other people's children and just look at them and be like, wow, I wish one day I could have a son or a daughter, my own, and just embrace them all the time. So I really looked forward to having a child. Yeah.
And so now the time came for you to get a husband.
Yes.
Where did you meet him? Where did you meet your husband?
Okay, we met at work. And later met in church. So initially the first meeting was at work.
All right.
Yeah.
Alikuonyesha box haraka ama ulikuwa una play hard to get?
Actually, if you told me that I would end up marrying him, probably I'd say no.
Yeah? You know, funny thing, even me.
I'd say probably I would be like, really? No. But God works in miraculous ways, and his plans are just way above our thoughts and knowledge. So not that fast, but eventually, yes.
You in Gearbox and you said yes.
Yes.
And so after how long in your marriage did you find out that you were expectant?
It was 4 months in.
4 months in?
Yes.
Were you wanting to have
Yes,
Yes.
it was very intentional.
Okay.
I was the kind of person who was like, I want to get married and get a child.
Immediately.
In fact, I was telling him we should leave honeymoon and come back home and get a
and
child.
get a baby. That's how eager you are.
Yes.
Okay. And how did you feel when you found out?
I think the first feeling is you start looking at your stomach.
Yeah.
And funny thing, it
not
doesn't
showing.
happen immediately.
Yeah.
So I would just go to the mirror and look at myself and I'm like, oh, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
But I'm not showing. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, do people know I'm pregnant?
Yeah, there's that subconsciousness in your mind where you're like, I think people are looking, but
Yeah,
not really.
not
It's
really
just
people.
you.
Yeah. And maybe I'm at work, I'm telling myself, do they know I'm pregnant? They shouldn't tell me to do that. But I was so excited. I couldn't wait for my bum to show. I was just excited. And my husband was so happy also to have
a baby on the way.
Yeah.
How was your pregnancy like?
I actually had a really smooth pregnancy.
Beautiful.
I only vomited once.
During your first trimester?
No, the second. And it was
Okay.
because I was given a medication that reacted with me.
Agree with you.
So, but nausea, just minimal, not as much. It was really smooth. I was at work the whole time. I actually stopped working like 2 weeks to give him back.
Wow,
Yes.
you were on the grind until almost the
Until
last
the
second.
end, yeah.
So you only stayed for 4 months.
Yes.
Before getting married.
Before getting pregnant.
Before getting pregnant.
Yeah.
Was there a difference now when the baby was born between now the family of 3 and the family of 2? Did the dynamic change in your marriage? What did it change for you?
I think the one thing that really stood out for me was our communication had to shift.
Okay.
Initially, it was just like, we're just communicating over normal things, like I'm going to work on this day for this and this reasons. On Saturday, we're going to do it this and this. But now we have to constantly communicate about the baby.
Yeah.
Because the baby has come and we have to talk about, I think he needs a diaper change. I think he needs to be fed. I think he needs this.
Yeah.
So we had to really change how we are communicating about the baby, because the baby is
The
our
center,
child.
yeah.
Is our child. So his father's opinion and my opinion matter. So we had to change how we communicate. We had to like adjust and know that if my husband tells me this, he means well.
Yeah.
Because especially when you're a first-time mom, you have so many emotions going through yourself and everything. So it's very easy for you to misinterpret what someone is saying. So I had to put myself out there and realize that my husband is saying it from a good point. He wants the baby to stop crying. So he's just trying to offer solutions.
And this is new for the both of you.
Yeah, even for him, it was just a shock, especially when you come back home from hospital. It's a shock.
Yes.
For every mom,
Yeah.
first time, it's just a shock. You're like, when I remember the night, now I'm leaving hospital tomorrow, so I knew I was leaving hospital the next day. So the night to leave in the hospital, I was just waiting to go home. Then I got home, then I'm like, I think I want to go back to the hospital. Like where the nurses will take care of my child, and I don't have to think about it. But now I can't go back.
It's your child.
It's my child. I have to take care of him.
Yeah.
And but I think for marriage, our communication had to shift to I'd say like the way you go to a higher class as you're going to school, because marriage is a school. So you're in the first class, so you go to the next class. So we had to learn how to communicate better, and I think it also brought more joy. I feel like most people make it look like a baby will come and ruin your marriage. It's like a ruined marriage kind of thing, but it has made our love grow better because now we have this project. He is our project. We are working on towards making his life better, towards instilling values in him that we want him to grow up with and everything. Yeah.
I like what you've said about that. It's like you view it as an upgrade in your marriage. Because that's true. Very many people will think having a child, and they talk about it. Even me, once you get children, hey, your marriage
are going
change.
to go.
And they're talking about it like it's a bad thing. But actually, it's actually an upgrade.
Yes.
You're adding to your family.
Yes.
You're doing what the Bible says.
It's a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful journey.
Yeah, you're actually doing what the Bible says when it says multiply, raise a godly offspring for me.
Yes.
So that's amazing. Going back to your pregnancy, when you're pregnant, of course, hormones, you go through a lot of hormonal changes. Was there any time that affected your marriage? Or like your mood swings just anytime, any day, anywhere?
I think there was just maybe one instance that comes to mind when you ask that. Maybe I'd say there's a time like, I don't know what my husband had done, and I was just feeling like he's not understanding me. I feel like he doesn't understand.
Yeah.
He will never get pregnant, so he will never understand. Like it was, I just felt like he wasn't understanding me. But I also came to learn that for sure he will never get pregnant, and I also need to extend grace to him and understand that he won't think the way I'm thinking, or he won't necessarily feel how I'm feeling, but if he's there to support me, that's all that matters.
Yeah. And because you're going through this together, it's a child, your first child together, so even the dad is in a new situation, a new environment.
For sure.
How did you as a mother, and this is a bit off the line of questions, how did you as a mother help him to cope with the new situation as well?
Okay, I think encouraging him, just telling him, oh dad, thank you. Now I call him dad.
Oh yeah, then even the names change.
Even the names change from babe to dad to daddy. So I think I'd encourage him and tell him, Daddy, you're doing a good job. Thank you so much for providing for us. Because sometimes we even take it for granted now, because I had to leave work and now he's doing the provision. And you'll take it for granted and think, this guy has been at work, he's not helping me with the baby at night and everything. But remember how it used to feel when you were going to work. You still get tired, you're driving and everything. So I'd encourage him and tell him, thank you for providing for us. Thank you for taking care of Malachi. Thank you for everything that you're doing for us. Thank you. Just encouraging him.
Beautiful. I really like that. I'm personally learning as we go along. And then, so you encourage him as a father, telling him all these compliments and all that. And that, I think that's really beautiful.
And also, sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Praying for him.
Praying
for him. I think actually after I gave birth, I really used to pray a lot, because every time the baby's not sleeping at night, I'd find myself praying. My baby, funny thing, sleeps when I speak in tongues.
Wow, that baby is Holy Ghost filled.
He's Holy Ghost fire. So I would just speak in tongues and pray for my husband, pray for God to guide him, even because also the role of a father is quite a heavy role. Because he's thinking that he needs to lead his son in a godly way to become the man that he wants him to be and what God wants to use this man for. So it's also a heavy task on him. So I'd really pray for him, pray for God's strength upon his life and everything.
You know, there's this phrase that says, I think it's an African thing, where they say mtoto ni wa mama. There are these new age ladies who are feminist and they're like equality, and if I wash the baby you must, and if you're not washing the baby or changing diapers or then there's a problem in our marriage. What would you say to such ladies who think that because you've said like your husband works and he's not there as much as you are for your son, what would you say to someone who is in that kind of mentality?
I think generally, whether we like to accept it or not, marriage has roles. There are things that your husband can do that you can't. For example, you're together with your husband and the car needs a tire change. Why would you go and change the tire if your husband is in the car? So it's the same thing. We are built differently. Women are different from men, and that's a fact. And there are things that I'm good at, like women have a nurturing spirit. Not to say that men cannot nurture children, but there's just that instinct of a woman where sometimes I'll hold my son and he sleeps immediately. And maybe the dad has been there telling him, oh, please baby, sleep, sleep. But me, I'll hold him and he sleeps. Because he's used to my smell, he's used to my scent, he's used to my, my hands and everything. So I'd advise women to just understand, like, marriage is a two-way thing. There are things you can do, there are things he can do better, and there are things you can do better. Just come to a common ground and support each other in whatever way is possible. Probably when your husband is changing the tire, you'll probably hold the door for him or something. Just support each other, because marriage is about support.
It's about support. I like that. I really like that. There should be a counselor somewhere. I'm wondering why you have not started. So now as a first-time mom, there's all these, of course you become very attached to your baby. I've not experienced it yet, but I hear that there's normally a kind of love that you begin to have that you have never experienced before, because this child has come from your womb. Like there's this kind of love that you have towards this child that you've not experienced for any, even your husband. Like it's a special kind of love. So you become attached to your child, and now even going to the shop without him is a problem.
Yes.
Or going to the supermarket, like it's a problem. Like you'll find mothers who for one whole year hawajaenda mahali bila mtoto wao. Like they're always with their child. How do you deal with that first time mom anxiety?
Wow, that's a good question because I think I'm still attached. Okay. I'm still very attached. But I think over time you get to understand that life has to move on, and you just trust God, because no one will take care of your child. Right. Maybe it's a house help. They'll probably not take care of your child as well as you think they should. Yeah. You'll always find that, I know you should have done this instead of doing this. Maybe the baby was crying and you chose to do something that maybe as a mother I felt like, no, you should have done this instead of this. You just trust God that, you know, whoever you leave your child, the caregiver will take care of the child in the best way possible. So long as probably they're not, maybe you hold certain values and they're not breaching those values. Say like for me, secular music in my house is a no. Yeah. And I say that to anyone who comes close to my son, because I don't want them to grow in that environment of secular music. So if they go past that boundary, then that's a problem. So I think for a mom, you just need to trust God. Trust God. That's the only way you can get rid of the anxiety.
Because you can't control everything.
Yeah, you can't. And you know, at the end of the day, the child will eventually go to school, go to maybe boarding school, get outside of the country, and you have to just trust God that he or she will be okay wherever they are.
It's funny how motherhood kind of, it makes you realize that the things your mom was feeling. Yeah.
And now, I like to compare motherhood to, as much as it might not measure up, it's like God's love towards us. Yes. Because your child, you love your child so much that you cannot, whatever they do, you'll always love them. Trust me, even the drunkard you'll find sleeping on the road, the mother loves that son so much. And I like to compare it to the love of God, because we move away from God, we sin, we do things, but he always calls us back, and he always embraces us with so much love.
And his love is everlasting.
Yeah.
Now, for our faithful followers, I'm sure you have watched an episode where we talked about house helps. And if you haven't, look for it on social media. I'm sure you can find it. And I want to know your opinion on house helps, because a lot of mothers are skeptical, very careful, which is very understandable, because this is your child. You don't want to just let them, you know, go with anyone or be around just anyone. How did you go about your house help situation?
I actually got my house help when my son was a month old. Okay. And I prayed. I prayed to God and told God, I want to get someone who, first of all, born again is a non-negotiable for me. And it's not just born again saying, born again, real born again.
Like living.
Yes, living. And I just found myself writing in my diary a set of questions that I asked every person that I interviewed. I interviewed like 4 of them. And I would ask them, do you go to church? Yes. You know, everyone will say they go to church. Everyone will say that. Then I ask them, under which pastor? Someone told me, I don't know my pastor. I don't know my pastor's name.
What do you mean?
How do you go to a church that you don't know the pastor? So I'd tell them, can I get their contact and talk to them? Because a pastor can tell you, this is a member of my church and they're this and this type of person. So that's how I went about it. And I believe that God is the one who led me in that direction.
And so being a first-time mom, there's the future of your child.
Yes.
How are you preparing to, of course right now they don't understand much at 5 months, but a time is coming when you will start, you know, actively telling them about Jesus and helping them to understand the Lord and the ways of the Lord, and even investing in them socially, giving them social prowess or like social education. Yes. How do you plan to go about educating your child or bringing up your child?
I think the first step as a married couple is to have a set of values. We find ourselves discussing with my husband, what would you like our son to be like? What do you want him to know? I find myself telling him, I would want him to know how to treat people well. You know, those set of values that you hold dearly as a family. First of all, identify them as a married couple. And then secondly, children learn more by seeing than by hearing.
Yeah.
So you're a father somewhere who's drinking and you're telling your son, don't drink, but you drink.
Yeah.
So they see you drinking and they're going to drink.
Yeah.
So us living what we are talking about.
Right.
If we're talking about God, are we living, you know?
Yeah.
Being an example is like the best way.
Yeah.
Is one of the ways that I plan to do.
Yeah.
I've even started reading more because I want them to read.
Yeah.
So that when I'm telling them to read, they have like a reference.
Yeah.
My mom reads. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And tying to that, very briefly,
Yeah.
I want to ask you about supporting your child, because you know they'll grow up and they'll want to be something.
Yes.
They'll want to be either a pilot or want to go into arts.
Yeah.
Do you intend on supporting them, or do you want them to become an engineer, doctor, lawyer?
No. I want my child to live in purpose.
Yes.
Whatever God has called them to be, music, whatever. That is what they're going to do, and I'm going to support them fully.
Amen.
We are going to support them fully. Yes.
Amen. Supporting your children is one of the best gifts you can give to them. I have personally experienced it.
I can imagine.
Yes, it's one of the best things you can do for your kids. Now, I want you to talk to any first-time mom out there who is struggling.
Yeah.
You know, not everyone has the support that you've had.
Yes.
Not everyone has a husband, a caring husband like you, or any husband at all, or maybe they got pregnant and the guy just left.
Yes.
What kind of advice would you give a first-time mom who doesn't necessarily have support, but they have this child and they now have this responsibility? What kind of advice would you give them?
Wow, that's a very good question.
Yeah.
I think as much as maybe you don't have a spouse or anything, I believe you'll always have a friend.
Yeah.
Or a mom, or a sister. Like, you cannot tell me you live in this world alone. Get support as much as you can. And probably you're wondering how you're going to raise this child by yourself. Trust God. Because God is the one who brings up these children.
Yeah.
He provides for them. I have seen God providing for my son. He ensures that these children grow up well. You see, sometimes you see street children and they're very healthy.
Yeah.
And you wonder, what does this child eat? Because God provides for them. Every day there will be a good Samaritan who will provide for those children. So just trust God. Pray. Pray for your child. Pray that God will lead you in the direction that He wants you to take. Because sometimes things can really get difficult. And maybe you're going through anxiety, you're going through postpartum depression, which is real. Take things easy. And one thing that leads to depression is being overly tired or being overwhelmed. I used to hear people say, sleep when the baby sleeps, and I thought it was a joke. Let me tell you, I slept. When my baby would sleep, I would just sleep very fast, because if I'm overly tired, then when the baby cries, it agitates me even more. So rest, have support from whoever you're going to get, and just trust God, pray. And if you need maybe another thing, that maybe you can reach out to other moms who have gone through it recently. Get a support group. I'm sure you know someone somewhere who has, So get some support from other moms, because talking about it makes you realize, oh, kumbe it's not just me. Kumbe my baby is not the only one who cries at night. Other babies cry. So it encourages you, and then it will pass.
It will pass.
It will pass.
The babies grow up so quickly.
So fast. So fast.
And then finally, as a first-time mom, especially as a first-time mom, how would you want the public to come in, or like your friends and your family to come in to support you? Because there are so many women who think they know. Unajua wale wanakuja kukwambia, usishike mtoto hivyo sijui, or like giving you unsolicited advice. You know, how do you deal with such people, and what is the best way to offer you support or advice? You've asked me that, and I remembered of a lady who would come home when my son was very young, and she'd help me wash the baby. It meant so much, so much, because thinking of washing a small baby as a first-time mom is stress.
You're looking
What
at
do
that
you
child,
hold?
you're wondering, how will I put them in water? They're so small. But she's a nurse, so she'd just come, pick the baby, wash the baby, show me how to wash the baby. Because in hospital you're shown, but it's just maybe 1-2 days, and then they leave you. So she showed me how to wash the baby, how to massage the baby, and she'd even ensure the baby is sleeping. Wow. I remember the first time she came, she washed him, and my son slept for 4 hours.
Wow.
For the first time. I was even waking him up because I was wondering, is he still asleep or is he okay? So small things like that. Yeah. If you're in a position to go help someone wash the baby, let them shower. Allow them to shower. Give them some time away from the baby. Hold the baby for them. If maybe the baby is maybe formula fed or drinking breast milk, you can even feed the baby yourself. Yeah. Let her have even 1 hour, 30 minutes for herself. Yeah. And now if you want to give her advice that you think maybe is necessary, that she needs to know, it's how you put it. Yeah. It's the tone you use. Yeah. It's how you know, there's a way I'll tell you, Sheila, I think probably if you check his diaper, maybe it's wet. Yeah. But there's a way I'll tell you, you've not checked his diaper. You know, I told you Kenya unafanya. And the worst thing you can tell a first time mom is tell her that hajui Kenya anafanya, because she's asking herself that question. Right. Am I doing the right thing? And now affirming that thought makes her even go into depression. True. So be careful how you use your words and the tones that you use. Yeah.
June, thank you so much. Unfortunately, our time is up. But it has been such a pleasure, such a delight to host you. Thank you so much for coming and educating us and speaking with us about this topic.
Thank you.
And so that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for staying tuned. I have been your host, Sheila Juma, and I'll see you same time, same place. Have a great rest of your week. Baraka.
Just